In the winter of 1846 and 1847, 87 westward immigrants headed for California were hopelessly trapped in the snow-blanketed Sierra Nevada. Their food supply would soon give out, and instead of starving to death, members ate their own oxen, their dogs, hides, leather saddles, and their own dead. Before it was over with, 42 members of the Donner Party would die. 47 members survived. 10 of the survivors were members of the Breen family of Keokuk, Iowa. 8 of the Breen survivors are buried in a cemetery in San Juan Bautista, California. On this episode of History Hunters, we'll explore the graves of the Breens and check out their old home, as well as other historical buildings in historic San Juan Bautista.
So welcome to this episode of History Hunters. I'm in San Juan Bautista, one of the oldest communities in San Benito County. One of the original California missions was established here at San Juan Bautista. The reason I'm here is because there are several members of the Breen family from the Donner Party who are buried here, including Edward Breen right behind me. They settled here in the San Juan Bautista area after they traveled throughout California. After surviving the Donner Party, they ended up here, became successful farmers. Now, if you are any student of the Donner Party, then you know that Patrick Breen is the one who kept the diary detailing what the families were going through as they were stuck there at the end of Donner Lake. As they were starving to death, they were trapped, they couldn't get on to Sacramento. Patrick Breen wrote some pretty horrifying details on what people were doing.
On February 26, 1847, Patrick Breen wrote in his diary, "Froze hard last night. Today clear and warm, wind southeast, blowing briskly. Martha's jaw swelled with the toothache. Hungry times in camp, plenty of hides, but the folks will not eat them. We eat them with a tolerable good appetite. Thanks be to God Almighty. Amen. Mrs. Murphy sat here yesterday that thought she would commence on Milt and eat him. I don't think that she has done so yet. It is distressing." The Donners told the California folks that they commenced to eat the dead people 4 days ago. If they did not succeed that day or next in finding their cattle, then under 10 or 12 feet of snow, and did not know the spot or near it, I suppose they have done so ere this time.
We're going to first take a look here at Edward Breen family plot. You can see some tiles leading up to this marker right here. That's the grave. There's Jesus up there carrying the cross. And there it says, "Sacred to the memory of Edward J. Breen, native of Canada, who died August 30th, 1890. He was 57 years old. May his soul rest in peace. Amen." Now, Edward was part of the first rescue relief, the first relief party. He was a prominent rancher and farmer who owned land in San Benito County and surrounding counties. He was a noted horseman. I believe these are family members. His wife would have been buried here. Harry Breen, 1886 to 1963. And over here we have Edward Breen and Charlotte Breen. They obviously came much later, dying in 1960 and 70. A little chipmunk right there. There he is. So the back side of the Edward Breen Memorial says that he was a native of Canada. Bequeathed in paz, whatever that means. Mary J. Breen, 1855 to 1930. And Harry Breen, Joseph Breen. J. Edward Breen, 1884. Charlotte Breen, John Roger Breen, all children of Edward Breen. I believe down here is where Patrick Breen and his wife are buried. Let's see if that's true. Let's see if that's the case. Yes, this is the Breens. Let's see if we can get a better look here. Right there in the center is the marker for the Patrick, the patriarch of the Breen family, who kept the diary. Sacred to the memory of Patrick Breen, born in County, I can't make that out, Ireland. He died December 21st, 1868. He was 78. Away his soul rest, and I can't quite make out the rest of it. Right there it says, in memory of Peter Breen, born 1843, died in 1870. May his soul rest in peace. Great is the Lord that made him, and at his word he hath hastened his course. Ecclesiastes. He was a dutiful and sincere friend, and affable to the congregation of the poor. Peace to his gentle soul, and everlasting rest. Be his virtuous cherished, and his memory blessed, since erected by his afflicted and loving mother. You can almost sense the tragedy here in having to bury her son Peter. Died 1870. Peter Breen actually died at the age of 27. He drowned in the Pajaro River. He rode his horse into the deep water, and it was thought that the horse must have struck him in some manner. Peter was just a small child when the family was snowbound during the winter of 1846. Right here, in this marker above ground, it says, sacred to the memory of Margaret Breen. She was the woman who saved her family. It says that she was born in Ireland and died here April 13, 1874. She was 66 years old. May her soul rest in peace. And over there it says Catherine. Sacred to the memory of Catherine, wife of Edward J. Breen. She died 1862. She was just 23 years old. Here's the grave of William Breen. He died February 9th, 1874. He was just 24. He actually was born after the Donner Party experience, so he was not there in Donner Lake when they went through that experience. He died at the age of 24 from fever. He was the only Breen child born here in San Juan Bautista. A few months after his death, William's mother died. It was said that the winter Donner Summit was easier for Margaret to have to deal with than having to give up her sons. So this Breen was spared the tragedy at Donner Lake. Now here lies the grave of Simon P. Breen. He was rescued as a member of the First Relief Party. As you can see right there, it says he lived from 1838 to 1899, survivor of the Donner Party. And right there you see a wagon, Conestoga wagon with oxen. And right here you see the mountains that he was stuck in. I gotta say that marker looks like it's relatively new. It's certainly not original. However, I was kind of intrigued to see this one. This is his wife, Marie Constant. You can see there it says the beloved wife of Simon Breen. She died in 1892, so she died before Mr. Breen. She was 47. This is sacred to her memory. As you could probably figure out, Mr. Breen himself was here at the grave of his wife. She died at the age of 47. So it's said that Simon Breen was a redhead. He was well known for enjoying a good time and was a colorful figure, a man who enjoyed life. When angry, he would use some very colorful language. He had bright red hair, curly hair, loved music, had a temper, and was considered a first-rate writer. Now, Huell Hauser was a popular guy here in California, had a program called Californians Gold. He visited this cemetery, and I'm going to show you a grave that he talked about in his show back in the 90s. Huell Hauser has passed away, but this is a very interesting grave. This is an actual bell right here. It belongs to the grave of J.R. Hodgson. He died in 1896. He was 58 years old. Why is there a bell here? Well, according to a tale that was told, Mr. Hodgson liked to drink. The story goes that one night he was celebrating while he was drunk, and he hit this bell and he broke it. Now, I'm not sure where he would have struck it. Perhaps the little thing inside it makes a ringy-dingy sound. I don't see any cracks in it. However, they said that he broke it. That was the story. And the city father says, okay, you're gonna pay for it. He said, I'll buy it on one condition, that you put it on my grave. Well, here it is. So you can thank Mr. Hodgson's drinking problem for a giant fire bell being right here. So after looking at the bell and not seeing any damage, I'm not too sure that the story is very accurate. Like I said, the only thing that I can think of that he could have possibly broken on this was the little thing that swiveled underneath that rang the bell, made the gong. So here rests the grave of John Breen. He's the firstborn son of Patrick and Margaret Breen. He turned 15 at the Donner Camp when they were snowed in. He became a successful person, and I'll tell you how. In 1849, after they were rescued, he took off on a horse, to one of his dad's horse, and he decided to go mining for gold. And it said that he returned with $12,000 worth of gold dust, a fortune in those days. And he allowed his dad to buy the Castro adobe, which is in San Juan Bautista. His diligence as a youth laid the foundation for the family's prosperity. And you can almost make out some of the family members. Ellen, Adelaide, Breen. He had a lot of children, I think. There's a John Breen, his son, Elitha Breen, Lily Breen. Lily died in 1915. There was Edward Patrick Breen, 1857 to 1930. Imagine what this young man saw as a teenager. And if you'll notice here, there's 6 crosses etched on this slab representing 6 members of the Breen family. This cemetery is populated with a lot of Italian immigrants who made their mark here in San Juan Bautista. And I'm going to show you one up here. One of the early settlers of San Juan Bautista was this gentleman right here, Angelo Zanetta. He's the one who prepped the Plaza Hall across from the mission. He thought that San Benito County was going to be able to get the county seat. He was prepping this building for the county seat when Hollister took it. So it actually became his residence. So as you can see there, Angelo Zanetta, 1826 to 1886, and his wife Mary, 1830 to 1911, both buried here in this plot with other members of their family. It's interesting how this whole cemetery, it seems like it's on a hillside except for the back. There are at least 2 Breen children who are not buried here at the cemetery in San Juan Bautista. They include James and Margaret Isabella. They were both buried at the Holy Cross Cemetery in Colma, California. We're not going to visit them on this trip, but I just want to let you know that not all the Breen children are here, and most of them died at a very young age, except for Patrick, believe it or not, the old man. One thing you got to say about the Breens is they were a hard-working bunch. Since Patrick Breen, back here behind me, was a hard-working San Benito farmer who found great success. He was born in 1837. He would have turned 10 years old at the camp. He died July 25th, 1899. It's his wife, Amelia Breen. He became a successful sheep and cattle rancher, also growing wheat and fruit in the San Juan and Salinas valleys, where he owned considerable property. As you can tell, he died, let's see, what is that? 62 years old. It looks like his entire brood is buried here. Looks like Charlotte. There was also a Josephine. And it looks like an Anne Breen. These are offspring. That last one, Anne Breen, 1998. And over here is William Patrick Breen, Amelia Breen, Patrick William Breen. They were a Christian family. The Breens are scattered all throughout this cemetery. This road over here is continually moving with traffic. People from the valley, Central Valley of California, head off to Monterey, that area. This cemetery has a soft spot in my heart because when we would travel with my grandmother to Monterey across that road down there, at one point I was a small child, and she said, "How many people dead or buried up there?" I said, "I don't know." And she said, "All of them." And I didn't quite understand it at the time, but she was just playing with me. So I think what we're going to do now is check out the town of San Juan Bautista and show you where the Breens lived, right in the plaza there by the mission. One of the 15th mission of the 21 missions in California that were established. That behind me is the 15th of the 21 missions, also the largest mission here in California by the Catholics. Probably not be surprised to know that this is one of the filming locations for the movie Vertigo, the Alfred Hitchcock thriller. So this massive Plaza livery stable was built in 1874, and it kind of symbolized the extreme prosperity of this area because of farming and other ventures. Now, when I was a kid, I remember we would go through these doors right here. They're locked up today. Don't know why. This is all owned by the state of California. But there was a plastic horse in there, which is actually in Vertigo with Jimmy Stewart.
Look at this. Here's your gray horse.
Let's see if we can stick our camera up to the window. Can't see much in there. How about sticking our camera in the door? Can we see anything in there? Can't even see anything. It's really dark. This is the Plaza Hall. It was originally erected in 1815 as an adobe building to house unmarried Indian girls of the mission. But in 1868, Angelo Zanetta purchased it and proceeded to remodel the building, which was in pretty bad state. So he tore down the building, reused the adobe brick for the outer walls of the present two-story Plaza Hotel, or Plaza Hall. The new second story was a framed construction with a fake front and a two-story veranda of the facade facing the plaza out here. And I understand that on special occasions they would have bullfights out here. I'm going to check out this building over here, this little white building. A little cottage. It says it's Vicky's Cottage. Originally located on 3rd Street. It was the Wells Fargo office. In the 1870s, its use was changed to that of a dressmaker's shop. In 1885, the building was moved to where you see it today by Mr. Angelo Zanetta, proprietor of the Plaza Hotel. He used it to house his hotel employees. The last person to live here was his daughter, Victoria. She lived here until she passed away in 1950. So the mission is right here. I understand that tower was added on later. However, right here shows this was on the route to the El Camino Real, the King's Highway. A lot of people don't know this, that this little section over here, the elevation change, is a direct result of the San Andreas Fault, because this is the San Andreas Fault. It shakes quite a bit over here. As you can see off in the distance, it looks like they're growing some kind of crop. It could be cabbage. That's a very fertile valley for growing produce. Now, this was also where Jimmy Stewart and Kevin Novak filmed scenes for Vertigo. Now, this is what a lot of people don't know about either, but this is a cemetery. About 4,300 people are buried back here. and there's no markers. There are markers, but they're not specific to people. I understand that as they encountered graves, they would just gently move aside the bones and bury somebody else. But if you can imagine, this little area back here has about 4,300 Native American graves. Some of the early Spanish explorers right here in this grove of like olive trees. If I'm not mistaken, Jimmy Stewart entered through those doors. That's to the sanctuary right there. And also right out here is where Jimmy Stewart, right out here's where Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak were embracing for this scene. I think I've been to this mission a million times as a kid, and I always thought it was depressing. I never liked the old buildings, and now they're completely run down. They are run down worse now than when I was a kid. The first level of the Plaza Hotel dates back to 1792, if you can believe it, 1792. Of course, it's been modified over the years. It was used from 1813 to 14 as barracks for Spanish soldiers stationed as guards at the mission. It then became a family home of the Anzars. It was also rented out to the merchandising firm of McMahon and Griffin. So you can see there it says barroom. I believe a couple of saloons have been in this building as well. Now, on the road to California back in the days when you had to take stagecoaches, it was rough, it was bumpy, it was horrible. So when you came to an establishment like this, it was modern, it was clean, it was a place to refresh, to get food. It was a welcome sight to many people. So right over here is the Castro Breen adobe. This is where the Breens lived, actually. This is a two-story adobe with balcony. It was built in 1838 by a Jose Tiburcio Castro. He was a former soldier. He built it for his son. It was to serve as a judicial and administrative headquarters for the Northern District of Alta California when this was part of Mexico. Jose Antonio Castro became a commander general of the Mexican Army during the Mexican-American War and would eventually serve as acting governor of Alta California. It later was purchased by the Breens. I told you at the cemetery that the oldest son was able to go mining and got $12,000 worth of gold to purchase this as their house. Of course, there are a lot of Breens, so they needed a lot of rooms. This further details that Patrick and Margaret Breen and their family owned it from 1849 to 1933. It was then sold to the state of California. And this is actually made of adobe, if you can believe that. Crazy. Of course, nothing's open today. It's all locked up. Right here behind the livery stable, we see a little display here. It's got some blacksmithing shop work stuff in here, but not allowed to get in here today. If you remember earlier, I told you about the Fault Line. Well, there's an actual restaurant here named the Fault Line Restaurant, featuring European cuisine. It's right here on the San Andreas Fault. So in front of the Castro Breen adobe, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of History Hunters. I hope you have a greater appreciation for the Breens and what they went through, and learned a little bit more about San Juan Bautista here in Central California. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of History Hunters.